Hey, Black Girls with Fibroids, Portia here. This is the new year and I've not posted a YouTube video in a while. I am 5 months post-op, almost 6 months, which means that I have my follow-up appointment coming up, as well as I have started to work out again. Between April of 2022 and August, I had my surgery in July. I lost a total of like 20 pounds. I went in April at 203 pounds, came out of my surgery. I think I had one like incision. I thought something was wrong with my incisions. I was 182 pounds. So I lost over 20 pounds. Since then, I have gained 4 back, and I'm trying not to be upset at myself because I've not been able to work out regularly. And so trying to just give myself like a little more grace and understanding that it's been several months and 4 pounds ain't bad. But I can work out again, and I'm starting to, not heavy. As many of you I've shared before, I also have back issues. I have scoliosis. I have a bulge on my L4, L5, and it's tilting one of my discs like it's hanging off. And so I can't do all the things that I could do before. I've met with a neurologist because of it. And what does that have to do with fibroids? Well, my fibroids are large and they were pushing against my spine. The doctors say they don't think that was the only cause. However, my surgery lasted 10 hours. And one reason it lasted 10 hours because one of my fibroids was close, really, it was on my spine and near a major blood supply. And that's the one fibroid that looks really like lumpy and bumpy compared to the others. And so I wonder if there's any connection to that. I'm not a doctor, but yeah, that's that. So I've started working out again. And as you know, I am like plant-based, primarily plant-based. I say primarily because I identify as an omnivore that eats majority plants. I am not anti-meat. I am anti like highly processed meats. And if I had things my way outside of raising things on a farm myself, it would be just like small operations where they're not pumping animals with hormones. I know they say that animals need, and I'm not pretending as if things like bird flu, swine flu don't exist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I know a lot of things. Times they say animals need, what is it like? Other than not vitamins, but whatever, injection. What do they call when you get a shot? Y'all, you know what it's called. It'll come back to me. But I'm always leery because we weren't giving our animals that before. My grandmother was raised on a farm, and they didn't do that before. I wonder if they had other preventative measures, but just wondering what folks used before we had all these medications that were going. And I don't have an answer. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have an answer, but I wonder. All this has to do with fibroids for me because, unfortunately, as we know, Black women are 3 times more likely to have fibroids, which impacts fertility. It impacts the rate of hysterectomies. It impacts the number of surgeries. It impacts insurance. It impacts how we can engage with our families. It impacts our bodies. It impacts mental health. And so I want to talk about this from a different standpoint because I've been doing a lot of work around like root causes of things. And this has been something I've thought about for a while. I've shared before that my mother had fibroids. We don't know if my grandmother had them, but we do know she had 2 miscarriages. Her mother had 10 kids. Who knows what her health conditions were growing up in rural Louisiana and not having the care. I do know they did not have care of a doctor. So that's something I do know. And at that time, let's be quite clear and honest. Unless there was a Black doctor in town, white doctors were not seeing Black people. Veterinarians would see Black people, which says a whole lot about how Black people have been viewed. Again, what does that have to do with fibroids? Well, women's reproductive systems, right? If you're not being seen by someone that understands women's bodies, What are they doing to you? Some things have been done on purpose. The father of gynecology tormented and tortured enslaved Black women on purpose, not giving them anesthesia, as performing like major surgeries, slicing and dicing them open. That sounds really gruesome and gory, but it is. What does that have to do with fibroids? Root causes. I am interested in understanding the root causes of fibroids. Why is it that Black women are suffering 3 times out of their counterparts? And I don't just mean here in the States. I think it would be short-sighted to say this is just an issue that's happening in the United States and does not consider the global implications of women's reproductive health, like globally. Like our kinfolk in across the diaspora are also dealing with fibroids at higher rates. And so what are the root causes? And to be quite honest, as much research as I've been reading, I cannot pinpoint one thing that kind of really gives us a good idea as to why fibroids exist. Now, I am part-time. I won't say even part-time. I believe that people are do things intentionally to harm certain groups of people. History tells us that time and time again. Again, Black women have been on the shortest end of the stick as far as people intentionally meaning to hurt them, keeping information, Tuskegee, like the things they've done to women's bodies of color, generally speaking, and then women's bodies of color, and then Black women's bodies, excuse me. And so I cannot sit back and pretend as if some things that happening don't raise red flags for me, because I'm often wondering, although this is awful that Black women are experiencing it, somebody's making money off of it. There's always somebody making money off of this, right? And so again, I mentioned earlier, like, how do people make money off of it? Well, in my experience, when I was told I had fibroids, even earlier on, the first thing that was suggested to me was surgery. Not alternatives, not have you considered embolization, which is still a form of surgery. I was told surgery. No one asked me if I wanted to try to harvest my eggs, if I wanted to be a mother down the line. People did suggest a hysterectomy for me. I'm talking about like early 30s, like late 20s, early 30s. Though that stuff was shoved at me, but not the alternative pieces. And so as I am thinking, and as I have been thinking, and the new year gives time for reflection, for me, it's been more of like, looking at history and histories that are being uncovered about Black folks and towns being destroyed and under literal bodies of water time and time again, done on purpose. I'm also thinking about the ways in which Black women's reproductive health, our ability to reproduce children, healthy children in healthy environments, has been under attack for forever. I didn't even talk about Flint, Michigan, right? So I would ask, my goal this year is to really better understand my own health. And some of that has been what I eat. Some of that has been how physically active I am. Some of that has been what goes in my hair, what doesn't go in my hair, what goes in my skin, what doesn't go in my skin. And trying to understand what are some of the root causes for sickness and disease, dis-ease. Some people say go completely plant-based. Some people say go completely alkaline. Some folks say this person has done a great job. And I'm not like, that's not me dismissing or dissing. I'm just trying to give a full picture of what folks have been saying and doing, that I've been looking at. And so I chose to go, like I said, primarily plant-based, not because I'm anti-meat. Meat tastes fantastic to me. It is just, I'm trying to have a better understanding of what does my body need and respond to in order for it to operate as best it can. Years ago, and I mean like in college, I got off birth control and said I would never get back on it again. And I've not gotten back on it because my body did not respond well to it. And if I'm looking at my body to be I'm looking at it to be a barometer of what's happening. I have to be in tune to that. And sometimes that means stripping away things. And so this year for me is doing a good bit of that. Now, some things are a little harder. Stress has been connected to fibroids. And I think about the levels of stress that just existing in this body, in any space I'm in, and the level of stress that comes along with it, what that does. But also I am strongly considering and trying to understand what are environmental factors that I can control and things I can't control, right? So I cannot control what my neighbors do, but I can control what I do. And so there are things that I don't like being around. Smoke of any kind. You shout. I know folks are like, I'm so stressed. Let me do this thing. And I don't. This is just me. If you think smoking anything cures something, good on you. For me, I just don't know how ingesting that to my lungs helps long term, but that's just me. I know there are alternative ways of consuming a variety of things. I don't partake. Personal choice. I don't consider myself a high stress person. I don't have anxiety. I've never wrestled with depression. And so I don't want to dismiss or ignore that. Like folks that are dealing with managing, learning to manage, learning to navigate that, people do what they know to do, or the best things that are in front of them to do, right? They try to make the best decisions with what they have. And so I'm not dismissing that or ignoring that. For me, that's not been the route I go. And so what are root causes? I've been reading around other social inequities, and health is one of the bigger ones. And so I'm looking at this document on countyhealthrankings.org. And so it talks about health disparities and health inequities, but root causes. I want to read the definition. Root causes are the underlying reasons that create the differences seen in health outcomes. They are the conditions in a community that determine whether people have access to the opportunities and resources they need to thrive. For example, the root cause of unequal allocations of power and resources creates unequal societal, social, economic, and environmental conditions. Those conditions lead to poor health outcomes. That's from the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine in 2017. How that translates to health inequities or health disparities. Again, I'm reading from countyhealthrankings.org. A health inequity is a health disparity that is not only unfair, but may also reflect injustice. To address health inequities, communities must remove obstacles to good health, such as poverty, discrimination, and their consequences, including powerlessness, and a lack of access to well-paying jobs, quality education and housing, safe environments, and healthcare. And that is, they cite Bravement et al. 2017. Additionally, health disparities are potentially concerning differences in health, particularly for groups at underlying or socially disadvantaged, that are underlying or socially disadvantaged. Disparities describe the problem or difference in health, but not how those differences occurred. And that's when I think about fibroids, what comes back to me is there's clearly a health disparity. There are health inequities. And some of those root causes are connected to power, pick an ism you want to pick, and disparities in economics impact other parts of one's life. And so what does all this mean? Portia, why are you saying all these things? I say all these things because I recognize I sit in the position of privilege. And I've said this in other videos, having access to quality healthcare, and I'm saying quality on purpose, quality healthcare, has been known to impact general health outcomes. And so for my Black women that don't have access to quality healthcare, like what things do we do? How do we support and care for each other? Well, the first thing I've been thinking about, and this is open for critique because again, I recognize that even though I was raised in an environment, grew up in an environment that I did not have adequate or quality healthcare, as life has moved along, my privilege connected to education, my privilege connected to access to education, my parents being first generation college students, like all those things have helped me access quality healthcare. And so one thing that I've been thinking of is one thing I think about for sure is this. I am no longer looking to government to meet the needs of myself. It is clear to me that when large organizations, government and otherwise, have the best interest in people, they don't do the bureaucratic crap of just talking about it or pushing paper. There's action. There are actions that are taking place. And I've sat in a position and watched women and listened to women talk about, I've done this a lot of times. And so my attitude now, again, and I recognize there's a seat of privilege that I sit in. My attitude now is I'm not looking at other people to fix my stuff. I'm not looking at other folks to repair things, right? I have decided that if those folks really wanted to repair things, they would repair it, and they've not. And they've not done it because in my heart, I feel like they have no intentions of repairing things amongst people that identify similarly to me, amongst women that have these health disparities, health inequities, especially, etc. And so there are things that I'm just doing. I have taken it upon myself to say, I recognize that fibroids have been connected to a healthy body and weight. So I am actively seeking to address that issue. My weight is connected to what I consume. I've heard a lot of trainers say you cannot outwork a poor diet. So I have changed my diet. And where I struggle with people that to go to my page or anything, I've had people say to me things like, well, I don't want to stop eating this stuff, so I guess I have to just do this. And you get to do that. Like, by all means, you're an individual, you make your choices. But for me, I recognize that every time my body goes under a knife, there's trauma that is done to my body, right? Like, there's something that happens to my body that's traumatic. And so rather than put my body that is already in a state of trauma dealing with fibroids, how do I love my body enough? And that takes discipline. And I am not always a disciplined person, y'all. I'm just going to say what it is. I'm not always that disciplined, but I am doing other things that I can do, right? So I say I am majority plant-based because I am. Like, it is, I don't buy things in my house, so I won't consume them. That's been one of my strategies. Is if I want to make sure that I'm eating the right things, I eat what I buy in my house is what I eat. I like to cook. I know that everyone doesn't like to do that, so there are other systems. There's one of those things, those meal kit programs, etc. But for me, it was, if I am saying I'm dedicated to my body, I am no longer putting my body and my health in the hands of a system and of people that don't care well for me or my body. Well, then I have to take some ownership of that, right? And so that has been, for me, is food. And again, I recognize that sometimes organic can be expensive. The cost of groceries is going up, y'all. I'm not blind. I saw somebody say eggs was like $7 to $8 a carton. Help us. Now, again, I'm not buying eggs, but other things I eat cost money. I also recognize I'm a single person. Well, I'm engaged, but I'm a single person in my house. And so I'm not feeding multiple people. That makes a difference, right? My mom was a single parent with 3 kids. You trying to get food out that can be sometimes quick was what we were working with for her, but also things that'll allow you to stretch your dollars. And so there are a couple people that I think do a great job of highlighting ways of doing that. I want to be clear in saying I am not saying that going vegan or plant-based is the best option for everybody. I don't know your body. Like I said earlier, I'm listening to my body and how my body responds to things. And this has been the best thing for my body in response to like my overall health. Even my workouts, when I had issues, when I first was told I had scoliosis, my doctor said, I think what's been saving you is that you have been active this entire time, right? You do work out, you do jog. Now, mind you, I can no longer jog and run because of the impact on my spine. But that my doctor said because of that, that has in some ways helped your body. And so I can't run anymore, but I can do, a treadmill. I do the elliptical machines. I do things at home. Shout out to Trap Cardio because those folks are doing it. I love dancing. And Trap Cardio it just is. So shout out to Miss Ashley and her team over there because they are amazing. And it's on YouTube, so you should go find and follow and then just get in your house and dance. I'm not saying the music is made for children. I'm not saying that. I am saying if you want to have fun and have your body moving, do that. It's been a joy and delight for me. But those are the things that I can do on my own, not looking to doctors to fix things because I don't believe that they are in the business of fixing things. I'll be honest. I think that, like I said, even when things are bad for someone else, somebody's making money off of it. So that was my rant. That's how I'm starting the year, is looking at root causes, trying to better understand root causes and health inequities and health disparities as it pertains to equitable health for Black women, and especially Black women that have fibroids. So I'll be looking more into these things. My hope and goal is to begin unpacking research that I read and find, which may seem dry to some, but as someone who is a budding researcher, and I want Black Girls with Fibroids at some point to be a nonprofit, a research-based nonprofit, that I can begin collecting me and in the future, a team of folks who want to center the wellness, holistic wellness of Black women, will be working to identify what's the research and the data behind what we're seeing. How do we turn the curve on these things? How do we create actionable outcomes? How do we hold ourselves accountable and folks that are taking our money, like insurance companies, accountable? There's a video I have posted before of my experience with insurance companies over something my doctor said I needed. How do we start holding folks accountable? And some of that is with data. And so I'll be unpacking research articles and doing that on this page too. So thank y'all so much for just being here and supporting. I would love to know your thoughts. Happy, whatever day it is, happy day.